Shark Tank is for everyone who's got a business idea. By everyone, we mean even kids. And to be honest, we don't get to see them enough. But when there actually have been kidtrepreneurs on the show, some have had pitches so daring that the sharks were left absolutely shocked and impressed. So today we'll be taking a look at the top 3 of these pitches. What happened to these kids who wowed the sharks with their products? Are these companies still in business, or have they shut down for good? Keep watching to find out.
Aloha, Sharks! I'm Cassidy Crowley.
And I'm Lori Crowley, Cassidy's mom.
I'm seeking $50,000 in exchange for 50% of my company.
The Baby Toon is a toddler-friendly spoon that appeared in the tank on season 11. Basically, it's a feeding spoon and teething toy made especially for babies and toddlers to safely feed themselves. The Baby Toon silicone teether spoon is made of super soft silicone that's gentle on the baby's gum. The Baby Toon's main feature is to prevent babies and toddlers from hurting themselves with traditional plastic feeding spoons. Baby Toon was founded by Cassidy Crowley when she was just 7 years old. This little girl from Honolulu, Hawaii came up with the idea when she entered her school's science fair. They were given a project to look for a problem and invent a tool to solve it. Cassidy found her problem when she came home that day and noticed her mother, Lori Crowley, worrying when her baby sister put a long, hard plastic feeding spoon in her mouth. So she came up with a solution. The solution being Baby Toon. Cassidy's product was designed in a way that made it easy to hold for babies and parents, with short necks to limit how far it can enter a baby's mouth. The teether part of the Baby Toon was designed in a square shape, making it easy for babies and toddlers to hold their own spoon without it going too far into their mouth. Parents could also put a pacifier clip on the spoon to stop babies from throwing their utensils on the floor. After receiving positive feedback at the science fair, Cassidy decided to take her idea from concept to reality. With the help of many people, including her own family and Colin Kobayashi of 3D Innovations, Cassidy found a manufacturer, launched her website, and supplied several local retailers, including Soha Living, with her unique product. However, she decided to go on the tank to take things a bit further. Cassidy would appear on the show with her mom, Lori Crowley. She was seeking a 50% stake in her company for $50,000.
So we have some samples we'd like to pass
Cool.
out to you, Shark.
How did you come up with the design, and what did you do to figure that out?
She handed out samples of poi, a Hawaiian baby food, for them to try with the Baby Toon. From the start, the sharks were impressed by Cassidy's entrepreneurial spirit at such a young age, and how innovative her product was. Cassidy presented her prototype from the science fair in first grade to the sharks. She also showed her current product. The Baby Toon was manufactured in the US of A. Each unit cost $6.60 to make and was sold for $15, which resulted in about $5,000 in sales. After creating Baby Toon, she started selling her products for $15 each with the help of her parents. Soon after, she would get the chance to pitch this to the sharks. Now, the sharks were curious as to why she wanted a 50% stake in her company for $50,000, and she pointed out that she was still young and in school. She needed a partner to help her with her business ventures so she could focus on school. She wasn't all about the business, though. Cassidy also wanted to show other kids that they could do whatever they set their minds to. When Mark asked if she was going to be a superstar at school because she appeared on Shark Tank, she replied that wasn't the reason she was on the show. Her pitch and performance definitely impressed the sharks, considering she's just 10 years old. Cassidy's company showed a lot of potential for expansion in the baby product niche, but they couldn't deny the fact that the entrepreneur was still a kid.
Cassidy, you've done an amazing, amazing job. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine what's next for you.
Mark Cuban congratulated Cassidy on all that she's accomplished. However, the product wasn't a good fit for him, so he was out. The next shark to go out was Daniel Lubetsky. Like most of the other sharks, he was impressed with Cassidy, but he didn't understand the baby space, so he couldn't invest. Kevin O'Leary was the next shark to go out because he felt it was way too early to invest. Now, even though these sharks weren't interested, there was one shark who was.
I'm going to make you an offer
Yeah.
because I have to be along with this journey.
Lori Greiner was so impressed with Cassidy that she made an offer. She offered Cassidy $50,000 for 50% equity in the Baby Toon. Without much hesitation, Cassidy accepted Lori's offer. However, before she left, Kevin allowed Cassidy to sit in his chair so she could feel what it was like to be a shark. According to him, she was on her way to being a shark with those skills. So what's the update on Baby Toon? After Baby Toon's appearance on the tank, Cassidy is still considered the current CEO of the company, despite Lori owning half of it. The company is still in business and is thriving, earning an estimated $1 million a year. The exposure and advertising it received from the tank significantly boosted the sales of Baby Toon. However, not all those interested in the product became customers. Recently, the company got a licensing deal with Munchkin Baby Products, which is currently being sold on Amazon at $6 with a 50% margin. The Baby Toon is currently sold through Munchkin, Amazon, and other retail stores. The partnership with Lori and the licensing deal with Munchkin have enabled Cassidy to achieve her goals, enjoy her childhood, and focus on school while still owning a business. And it looked like that worked out pretty great for her. But how about this next company?
Hey Sharks, I'm 13 years old and I'm the inventor and patent holder of the measuring shovel.
On the 11th season, episode 6 of The Tank, Maddox Pritchard jumped on stage with his measuring shovel. He was hoping to raise $40,000 in exchange for 15% equity in his company. Unlike a regular shovel, the measuring shovel helps the person measure the exact depth. This tool can make tasks easier, helping builders and garden workers. It has measurements from the tip of the blade up the handle and on the blade, which helps produce holes of the perfect depth, as well as the perfect spacing for plants. It was invented by Maddox, who came up with the idea in the 4th grade. Both his parents had jobs relating to landscaping. His father owned a company that sold hydraulic tree diggers, while his mom, Amanda Pritchard, has a background in horticulture, hence his introduction to gardening. While landscaping, Maddox's mom always wanted the holes to be the same length. He found it incredibly stressful and wanted to find an easier way to do it. So Maddox created the measuring shovel, presenting it at the Middle Tennessee State University Invention Convention in 2016. The judges were so impressed that he won the first prize at the 5th grade level for his invention. And after his victory, Maddox earned a trip to Washington, D.C. for the very first national convention at the U.S. Patent Office. Once again, he won Household Organization and Tools Award, sponsored by Stanley Black & Decker. In this competition, many people said that he should get that idea patented, and that's just what Maddox's parents did. They filed the patent in his name, and they managed to create the prototype for the invention using duct tape, a regular shovel, and a ruler in just around 30 minutes. So he brought his company's idea to Shark Tank, and when he came on the show, Maddox was just 15 years old. He would go on the tank along with his mom Amanda, dad Jason, and sister Brenna to pitch the measuring shovel. The company was still in its early stages, and they were looking for the Sharks to help bring that product to the market. When he came to the show, Maddox said that he hadn't entered production yet, while coming to the tank with sales was usually the best option for companies. Maddox's company, being pre-revenue, didn't seem to scare off the Sharks. Now Maddox showed his product to these Sharks, letting them know how it worked, making him dig a hole into a mini garden he'd set up with the help of his parents. They were, to put it lightly, stunned, calling Maddox too brilliant. The Sharks could see the reasoning behind the measuring shovel. They also decided that if they were buying a shovel, they would rather have the measuring shovel than a regular one. They would also agree that many gardeners would probably feel the same, and most of the Sharks were sold on the idea. Guest Shark Daniel asked how he intended to spend the $40,000. According to Maddox, the first $16,000 to $25,000 would be spent on making the mold for the shovel, while the rest would be used to get his initial run of shovels made. While they were clearly wowed by Maddox's invention, not all the Sharks made an offer. Mark said that although he looked like the outdoorsy type, he wasn't, so he was out. As for Robert, even though the idea was a pretty good one, it just didn't speak to him, so he was out. According to Kevin, Maddox reminded him of a deal in the past. Benji, a young man who came up with a better mousetrap while on a walk.
We're gonna partner together and we're gonna blow it up.
Definitely.
What's your offer, guys?
Definitely think that we
All
can
right.
license.
We don't do this for free. You're in the Shark Tank now, and we're sharks.
So he would make a combined offer with Griner that would focus on licensing. They offered $40,000 for a 30% stake. Guest Shark Daniel Lubetsky made a counteroffer, mostly because he thought Maddox was adorable, with his offer of $40,000 for 25% equity on an operational basis. So the choice was up to Maddox. This was definitely not an easy choice for him to make.
Lori and Mr. Wonderful, would y'all be willing to go to 25% for $40,000?
Nope, you got two sharks.
In a bold move, Maddox tried to get Lori and Kevin to reduce their equity by asking for $40,000 with a 25% stake, but Kevin wouldn't budge. According to him, Maddox would be getting two sharks, hence the offer. Maddox then tried to raise their investment for $50,000 with 30%. The Sharks were impressed at Maddox's negotiation skills, but Kevin stuck with his original offer.
Mr. Wonderful and Lori, you got a deal.
Regardless, Maddox decided to go with Kevin and Lori's original offer of $40,000 for 30% 50% stake. So, how has the company done since appearing on the show? To date, Maddox's measuring shovel hasn't been launched yet. Shortly after the episode aired, Maddox's dad had passed away after a sudden and brief illness. That could have been a big reason for the business not launching. However, the measuring shovel website promises that the product will be out shortly. Hopefully, it'll go on sale soon. And now we have 13-year-old Sophie Overton.
I'm Sophie Overton. I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas, and I am seeking $30,000 for 15% equity in my company.
Pitching her clothing line to the tank on Season 11, Episode 11. Being on Shark Tank has always been her goal, even before she started her company. Sophia Overton, a 14-year-old kitrapreneur from Bentonville, founded Wise Pocket Socks. Sophia was 11 when she first got the idea for Wise Pocket Socks. She noticed that her cousin always struggled to carry valuables because she didn't have pockets in her pants, so she would put them in her socks. Sophie thought that was a brilliant idea, but there was a problem. When she tried sticking it down her boots like her cousin did, she found that the phone slid down to her ankle each time and was pretty difficult to reach. So she came up with a solution. She would start with a prototype by cutting off the top of another pair of socks and sticking it inside the socks. She sewed them together, and that's how her product was developed. Socks with pockets that will hold a cell phone and other small items. A simple idea that still managed to be very clever. Excited about it, she went out and got some samples made. The socks were made with 100% cotton and had an elastic band at the top that allowed all wearers to roll them down as far as they needed them to go, or even take them off entirely. They also had little pockets on either sides where people could put their keys or other small items, so they were always within reach. These Wise Pocket Socks could hold accessories and essentials like mobile phones, EpiPens, etc. Before going to the tank, Sophie managed to raise $10,000 to put towards her business. She saved up to $5,000 and raised another $5,000 from business pitches and competitions. It was a good help to start her business, and by the time she appeared on Shark Tank, she had already earned $16,000. She just wanted some expertise and financial support to grow that business, and came onto the tank for the same. She showed her product to these sharks, and they not only liked this idea, but were impressed by this teenager's creativity. They were also impressed with the revenue as well. Sophia pitched for $30,000 on 15% equity. To show how firmly Wise Pockets held whatever was put in them, a dance troupe did a lively hip-hop routine to show that the socks securely held their devices. The sharks liked it, and Sophie even passed around some samples. Barbara was impressed with her color scheme. Even though Sophie's numbers weren't huge, they were still impressive for a small company run by a 13-year-old. Also, it cost Sophie $5.47 to make a pair of socks, and she sold them at retail for $15 and wholesale for $11. Interestingly, Sophie would donate a pair of socks to kids in need for every pair she sold. Kevin O'Leary was out immediately, and his reason wasn't that elaborate. He simply didn't want to be in the sock business. Meanwhile, Mark Cuban praised Sophie for being so intelligent with her money and doing exactly what any young entrepreneur should do. However, he too didn't know anything about socks and didn't think it was a right deal for him. He's out too. Now we have Greiner and John, who are pretty interested in Sophie's company.
And Damon and I want to help you. He does quite a bit in the sock arena, and he would like to do an offer with me.
The two jointly make an offer of $30,000 for 33.3% of the business. Their intention was to go into licensing and help boost her production.
You are right, Mr. Wonderful. It's a lot of my company. I'd like to make a counteroffer.
Sophie wasn't sure about that deal because it was way above the percentage she offered. Kevin even told her that it was 1/3 of her business, which was pretty high. So she made a counteroffer, asking for $35,000 for 25% of the company. The Sharks were impressed at those negotiation skills, and the two agreed to give her $35,000 for 25% equity stake in Wise Pocket Socks. Sophie accepted that deal before Barbara could make a pass or an offer. So, how's Wise Pocket doing now? Looks like the deal with Lori and Damon came through, and Wise Pocket Socks have been doing great in the market ever since the show aired. After the show, sales went up exponentially. They were doing well for a while, and production was even having trouble keeping up with the orders. However, Sophie somehow managed to fulfill every order. Wise Pocket Socks are even available for sale on Amazon and other big online stores. Sophie launched the tweed and Hawaiian versions of the socks as well. It also appeared that she had expanded her products from socks to leggings, thus launching Wise Pocket Leggings. However, in 2023, the company now appears to be out of business. The Wise Pocket website seems inactive and redirects these days. We should also add that Sophia has continued to work hard in academia, as she should, which may be the reason for this. Hopefully, this young entrepreneur will be able to get back in the game someday.